Thank you, Zelda. Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to LinkedIn Tuesdays. We're very glad you're with us. It's June 22nd, 2021. If you have any questions throughout this presentation, please just open up the chat box, enter your questions into the chat box. For those watching on Facebook right now, please just enter your questions into the comment field. I am monitoring that feed, and as our speaker takes a break, we'll be sure to get those questions answered for you. Please note this event is being recorded and is currently live on Facebook. The recording will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and the Career USA YouTube channel for others to view in the future. By participating in this event, and if you have your microphone or camera on, you give consent for your name and picture to appear. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jeff Morris. Back in 2008, I founded a website called Career DFW to help those in the Dallas-Fort Worth area try to put everything for their job search in one place. In 2012, I started a second website, careerusa.org, to help people outside the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I have written a book called What I've Learned About Your Job Search That You May Not Know. It is available on Amazon. Since 2007, I've been facilitating and leading the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. The group's been around since the late 1990s, and I'll tell you about our upcoming programming that we're going to have this Friday at the end of the session. And since 2017, I've been a member of the practice interview team, which is also known as the PIT crew, since 2017. If you'd like more information on having a practice interview, please reach out to me. I'll be glad to get you the information. This is a great way for you to, you spend a lot of time on your resume, you spend time on your LinkedIn profile, you know, how much time do you actually spend on preparing to be interviewed? So here's a great way to be interviewed by a team of people who are all hiring managers and can help you out. Well, when we started doing this LinkedIn presentation, I asked some of the people who I knew who were the best in the business and came up with these four names. And luckily, Locke, Terry, Ruth, and Kurt rotate, all volunteered to say yes. And they rotate through every month. So every month you hear one of them talk about a topic from their point of view. And I thought it was important not to have the same person talking every week, but to have different people talking about what they think is most important and what from their point of view and what they would recommend, because you're not going to remember everything we say over the next 60 minutes. But if you'll just take away a couple of things and apply those in your job search and apply those on LinkedIn, hopefully you'll get a couple nuggets, and that's what you'll apply, and then come back next week and you'll get a couple more nuggets. So this week our speaker is Ruth Lipsky. She's a career coach. She's going to talk about LinkedIn search engine optimization. So Ruth, thank you for being with us today.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. There's a lot that goes on with LinkedIn, and if you're taking these classes, you're probably seeing that there's a little bit different opinions, maybe some things that are absolutely the same for everybody. Your LinkedIn profile is your profile, and what you put in there is up to you as to what you feel is going to be the best indication of the skills that you have and what's going to attract the attention of a recruiter or a company that needs somebody with your talents. So we're going to talk today about search engine optimization, because recruiters more and more are utilizing LinkedIn to find people who never apply for their jobs in the company. They go out and find them and invite them in for interviews. So we'll be talking about the goals that you should have on LinkedIn. We'll look at the recruiter search engine and what those look like and what we can tell from them. We'll talk about the titles and the skills and how to get the most value out of them. Then we'll discuss some of the other sections that could be added to LinkedIn to provide more information to people. And we'll talk about networking and how LinkedIn supports the networking function of LinkedIn. If you could, any questions that you might have should be put in the chat feature. Jeff will be watching over that, as I will, and we'll make sure that we get those questions answered as you go along. Or you can just shout them out and we can stop and talk in a little bit more detail. So why are we worried about LinkedIn quite as much as we are? Because the source of hiring has changed over the years. Most jobs right now are coming from the company website, about 50% of them, as you can see here, because it does allow them to be able to put jobs on the company website, have people apply to them on the website. And most of these jobs are going to be lower level jobs, maybe some mid-management jobs. For the higher level jobs, it's probably not the place they're going to be looking for them. Now, you can also use referrals, and referrals are going to be people within the company who are championing you and are able to take your name, your resume, your information to either a recruiter or a hiring manager, because any referral from within the company is a serious indication of interest and skills, and the HR department is going to look at those above other people. Now, the recruiters in this case mean headhunters, and headhunters used to have a much higher percent of the market. But since LinkedIn is allowing so many searches for titles and skills, recruiters are not quite as important. They still have their use, but it's not going to be as big a percent as they used to be. Take a look at this here. A third of all jobs that a company is going to offer are coming from a recruiter who goes to LinkedIn and searches for title, geographic location, skills, finds people who have the skills that are needed for that position, and they'll send a request out for an interview. You never even apply for a company, and the company comes to you this way. There are a lot of advantages to this. One, is a lot quicker than putting that job out there on a job board, on multiple job boards, waiting for applications to come in, sort through them, find the ones you want to talk to. It can be expensive to go through the job boards, and it can be time consuming. However, if a recruiter wants to go onto LinkedIn, they can find somebody very quickly and be able to contact the person and start moving on an interview process quickly. So LinkedIn is going to be a great friend for you. Not quite as good as networking. Networking is always going to be your best bet in finding a job. But as far as where else you should put your time and your consideration, LinkedIn is going to be a great place. So you've got two goals on LinkedIn, and the first one you've probably already done. You're going to, well, you may not have done this one. The first one is making sure that when a recruiter is using LinkedIn to find you, they're going to be able to find you because your profile is set up for a search engine optimization. The second one is a more normal goal for LinkedIn. Make sure you've got information out there, make sure it's welcoming, make sure the readability factor is high. You've got a picture of yourself, a background picture, maybe even put in some personal information. That's all good once the recruiter finds you, once the hiring manager finds you. But you have to be able to make sure that they can find you. And in order to do that, we're going to make sure that search engine is set up so you come up high on the list. Most recruiters are going to be using the LinkedIn Recruiter software, but not all of them will. But let's take a look at the software itself. LinkedIn every day calculates a score for your profile, every day. And it's based on how much content you have, how much activity you've had. You will never be able to see what your score is because that's kept a secret. It's part of their algorithm. And they will not divulge any point value for any activity or any type of information that you're putting into your LinkedIn profile. But do know that there is a score associated with your LinkedIn profile, and the more active you are on LinkedIn and the more information you have in your LinkedIn profile, the higher score you're going to have and the higher you're going to come up in the job search results for a recruiter. So here's what the recruiter is going to do. They're going to put in a title, in this case, project manager. They're going to put in a location, Greater Chicago area, and be aware that the location could be remote if it's a job that's not associated with a specific geographic location. But in this case, we're looking at Chicago. skills. They're, in this case, looking at business strategy and analytics. But now take a look and see that they also have the opportunity. LinkedIn is going to provide some additional skills that are associated with the project manager job. So LinkedIn has created a list of skills that they feel are important for a project manager to have. When the recruiter is in the LinkedIn recruiter software, LinkedIn is going to pull up those skills and ask, do you also want people who have these skills to come into the project manager role? If you want to include them, just click on them. Now, not everybody needs to do that, because if you have too many, then you're probably not going to get the right match. But in this case, there are 42,798 people who have project management titles in the greater Chicago area and have either a business strategy skill or an analytics skill. Emily Dalton came up number 1 on this list, and LinkedIn never does anything random. There's a reason why Emily Dalton came up number 1 on this list. Channing Curry came up number 2. Aubrey Mackey came up number 3. Part of it is going to be that they have these titles, they live in this location, and they have these skills. But there are other factors underneath the LinkedIn recruiter software that allow people to get up for this high on the search list. The recruiter has some other sorts that are set up. One is they want the people to be open to new opportunities. This is the open to new work that is on the profile page of your profile, of your LinkedIn. Being able to fill this out and indicate that you're willing to look at other jobs is going to bring you up high, because the recruiter doesn't want to have to talk somebody out of a job if they're not interested in moving on. Now, they also want to know if they have a company connection. That means that you have a first-degree connection to the company that that recruiter works in. Recruiters feel that's important because if you know somebody at that company, you're linked with them, then you may know a little bit more about the type of product they have, what the brand is, what the culture would be in the company. So they're looking for people who have these company connections.
Ruth,
Also, yes?
Brian asked me, you just talked about, can other recruiters, Brian asked this question, can other recruiters see the list of skills that you just mentioned for a job that they're looking to fill? So if recruiter A, I guess, puts in a bunch of skills, would recruiter B be able to see that recruiter A is looking for those skills?
No, each recruiter has a separate page, but what they can do, and this is something that is fairly new for LinkedIn, is that they've created a list of, on a LinkedIn page that is not associated with your LinkedIn profile. You can go, and here we've got the ability to put in project manager position. And we'll just take the plain project manager. LinkedIn tells you what skills they expect a project manager to have now. So if a recruiter is looking for somebody who is a project manager, this one looks as if it's more associated with construction. So it might not be the best example for this, but these are the type of skills that they would want to see. And a recruiter, before they do a job search, will probably get with the hiring manager and give them a list like this and say, which of these skills are most important for you? I'll search on the 2 or 3 skills that seem to be the most important for the type of role you're looking to fill.
Great, thank you.
You bet. Brian, did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay. Let's get back. So things that we're looking for this recruiter. Started out with 42,798. They're interested in the 83 that are open to change jobs, have company connections, and are engaged in the talent brand. If you're engaged in the talent brand, that means that you have their company in your interest area. So if you search for a company on LinkedIn, you'll go to their LinkedIn company page, there will be a follow button. Click on the follow button. That means that it will drop into your interest area and you'll start receiving more information on your home page dealing with that company. Anytime they post on LinkedIn about a new product, about maybe an employee engagement activity, note from recruiters, you'll see that in your home page because you want to know more about that company. So when the recruiter is taking a look at these people, they're going to see that they have the company connections, that they are a company follower, that they're open to new opportunities. All of that's going to be important to them. And that's part of why these people come up high on a recruiter list. There's also the idea that these people must have a high score to their profile right now anyway. So they must be active on LinkedIn. They must have a broader set of information in their LinkedIn profiles. So here's another way that recruiters can use LinkedIn Recruiter. And in this case, they're looking just for accountants. And they got over 4 million of them. And of these 4 million, this recruiter is looking for the people who are more likely to respond. Here's another feature that LinkedIn tracks about you that you cannot see. Whenever a recruiter contacts you on your message page and you reply back to them, either, yes, I'm interested, let's talk, or no, that's not really the type of job I'm looking for. I'm looking more for this type of role. Anytime you have a conversation on LinkedIn with a recruiter who has messaged you, you are likely to respond. If you ignore the messages that recruiters send you because it's not a good job for you, it's not in the location, that there's something wrong with the job, if you ignore them, then your score for likely to respond goes down. You won't be able to see it, but recruiters are very interested in this because they don't want to contact people who aren't going to give them any feedback back. The recruiters are also interested in people who are open to new jobs and who have company connections. So out of these 3 things, out of the 4,000 that came up, we're still left with the understanding that there's probably something else going on that brings this person number 1, this person number 2. And LinkedIn won't tell us specifically what they are, but we think it deals with how much information you actually have in your profile and how active you are. Notice also that when they're looking for accountant, the people's titles that come up right underneath their name, this person has accountant, this person has senior accountant. A recruiter is going to look through probably 100, 125 of these small little tiles in order to pick the people they want to talk to. There's very little information on this list, which is why we're going to talk a lot about the title area and putting more information in here so that when a recruiter sees your title on this response page, it's going to give them more information about who you are, what you do, and what type of accountant you might be. So just recognize that there's a lot of room to talk to the recruiter on these pages by putting more information into your title area in the headline. So things that recruiters are looking for and that will bring you up to the top of the search. Make sure that the open to work area on your profile page is completed. Likely to respond, you're going to have to go back through your messaging and see what recruiters have contacted you. Make sure that you reply back to them, even if they say, no, this is not the type of role I'm looking for. You need to have a headshot. You need to have the headline information that talks about your title and what other skills and value you bring to a company. They want to know that you're connected to other employees within the company and that you have the company dropped in your interest area. Those are all going to help on the search engine optimization and bring you more toward the top of a recruiter list. So let's talk about those titles, because the title gives you an opportunity to tell more about yourself, especially when the recruiter is only seeing a very small part of your profile. So we're going to maximize the titles first of all. And you want to use titles that LinkedIn has standardized. LinkedIn has standardized about 6,000 different titles. And if you go into the open to work area on your profile page and you start typing in a title, it will give you opportunities to select titles that are at different levels in an organization, maybe different departments within an organization, possibly different industries that might be specific to that type of role. Use those titles because recruiters use LinkedIn standardized titles whenever possible, because that brings up the whole job family to them rather than a job title that is specific to their company and may not mean an awful lot to LinkedIn. So recruiters get better search results when they use a LinkedIn standardized title. You should use them too. Now, you may have had one title at your last job. You may have had a couple of titles if you had different opportunities within that company. You're going to want to add multiple titles to that headline area and into your open to work area, because companies are going to be calling jobs slightly different roles, but they may use the same title. And you want to be able to take advantage of as many different titles as possible. And even in your experience section, where you've got your most recent job title with your most recent company, add other titles to that experience section. If your company gave you a title that's not really translatable across the industry or is not known to anybody outside the industry, then you want to put more titles in your experience section so that you can translate what you did at that role to other people who might be looking at your profile. So it used to be that we wanted to put in title, 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 title on the headline area, because we knew that an exact match on the title gave you bonus points in a recruiter search. Now that LinkedIn has expanded this section to about 220 characters, they give you a lot more room to put in keywords, skills, what value you bring to the company. So starting out, you may have put in that you were a VP of marketing, but you could do a global marketing role also. When a recruiter sees this on their selection list, that's good information. But if they see this better one, creating value for business through effective marketing strategies, that brings the recruiter eye to that longer list, to that longer skills, the ability to sell yourself to a recruiter when everybody else is just using a title. Expand your headline area so that it includes more information about you, what you did, and what you can offer for the future. And if you want help, here's a title generator. Sometimes you want to start off with an adjective. Depending on the type of role you have, depends on whether you want to put this in. But if you wanted to say that you are certified, and if you want to say that you are award-winning, you might want to be able to put that in as an adjective instead of as a skill later. Add a couple of titles and use the ones that LinkedIn has standardized whenever possible. That'll be either on the open to work. It's also on the jobs tab. If you're on the jobs tab and you're searching for a job, you'll see that when you start typing in a job title, it'll come up with a drop-down list of jobs that are similar to that in title. Those are the same list. But let's talk about adding what value you bring. So specializing in, focused on, able to. Let people know what you are, what skills you have. Example, dynamic program manager, driving brand awareness through integrated marketing. It's hard to come up with a fairly short definition of who you are. So it'll take a while to come up with something that is good. You can't put just skills one right after another, but be careful about that because it looks kind of messy and busy. Just because they give you 220 characters doesn't mean you need to fill it up completely. Make sure it's readable and it looks as if you're highlighting the skills that are most important for your new job. So we're taking care of our titles. Now let's take a look at our skills. LinkedIn keeps track of what recruiters are looking for on skills. And last year, which is the most recent year we have, LinkedIn is telling us that the top soft skills that recruiters searched for were creativity, persuasion, collaboration, adaptability, and emotional intelligence. If you don't have these skills in your skills and endorsement area or in your about section or in your experience section, you need to add those in. Because if recruiters are looking for those words, you need to put them in someplace. The hard skills, of course, that's going to be dependent on the job that you're doing. But as we are looking at continuing the working from home, recruiters are looking for people who have those self-management skills that make them successful work from home people. And you would want to add skills like active learning, resilience, stress tolerance, and self-motivation to your skill list so that you'll be able to indicate that you can work from home and be effective. LinkedIn allows you to have 50 skills. We do recommend that you use 45 to 50 because you probably have that many skills. Be sure that you have both the technical and the soft skills listed there. Most people are pretty good about putting technical skills in this area because that's what was their base for their job. But you also want to put in the soft skills on communication, building relationships, teamwork. Being able to work with other people is a skill, and make sure that you've got some of those skills in the skill and endorsement area. LinkedIn does allow you to show 3 of your top skills. If you haven't done anything in this area, LinkedIn will default to the 3 skills that have the most endorsements associated with them. Or if you've got a new profile, it'll take the first 3 that you entered. You can change that so that you make sure that people see what your best skills are. Make sure that you have something that is unusual in your skill list, a hobby or something that makes you different from other people. It's one of those words that don't belong and will therefore catch the recruiter's attention. You're the person who is a traveler, a hiker, a quilter. Anything you want to put in here that showcases that you're a little bit different, you've got a little bit more personality, do that. LinkedIn will categorize your skills, and it's not always accurate on where they put this. You can't change your skills across the categories. It's just not possible. You have to live with it, and recruiters know that. If you got a lot of skills, you might want to alphabetize them, because as soon as you alphabetize them, they're easier to read. And if a recruiter is looking for a particular skill, an alphabetized list is going to make it easier to be found. LinkedIn has recently added a skill assessment. So if on your skills and endorsement area, you see that there's take a skill quiz, that means that at least one of the skills you've got in this area has a quiz associated with it. It used to be that LinkedIn used the endorsements as a way to indicate strength of the skill, but found out after a while that a lot of times, if you had a lot of endorsements for a skill, sometimes that just meant that you had a good social network and that you had people that were complimenting you and endorsing you on skills, and you would go and endorse them on their skills. Well, now they got a quiz. They're going to be in 3 different categories. You can either have technical quizzes, business, or design. And LinkedIn is telling us that people who have passed the skill quiz are 30% more likely to be hired for a job that requires that skill. So good thing to be able to take. They're generally going to be 15 to 20 questions. They are multiple choice, which should make it a little bit easier. This is a timed test. It's got to be completed in one session. They don't want you going out and looking for answers. You only need a 70% in order to pass the test. And once you pass the test, you get a badge. And that's this clipboard with a check mark by it. And if you scroll over it, it'll show that you passed a LinkedIn assessment. Good thing to add there. But this test is only good for 12 months. LinkedIn feels that there are enough changes and modifications to these programs that you probably need to reassess your skills after a period of a month, to be assured after a year, to assure that you've got the most recent skills associated with that program. Now, what happens if you don't get a 70%? You can retake the test. Nobody will see that you did not pass it, but you have to wait 3 months before you're allowed to take the test again. And those multiple choice questions will completely change in that length of time. If you don't pass it the second time, then it's no longer available to you. Okay, on tests. All right. There are other sections that we're going to be looking at on LinkedIn. You probably are familiar with the concept of being an all-star. These are the items that you need to have filled out in order to be an all-star. And this is one of those areas that your two goals are going to have separate requirements. Your first goal is search engine optimization. Your second goal was make it readable and make it helpful to a recruiter. Well, recruiters are generally going to tell you that they don't care if you're an all-star or not. They just want to see that you've got enough information in your profile that they can make the determination as to whether you're qualified for this job or not. So recruiters will tell you you don't need to be an all-star. But LinkedIn does value people who are an all-star because according to their algorithm, it means that you have a more complete program, probably have more information in your profile, and are more aware of what it takes to be showing your skills. So the two different goals are going to give you a different answer on do I need to be an all-star? The bottom line is yes, you do need to be an all-star. So let's go and take a look at the actual take a look and see what it looks like on a profile. Title, going to have more information out here in order to indicate what type of role I've got. I've got my open to work completed. I am an all-star. The about section, you need to have a minimum of 40 words in order to get full credit for having an about section. You should have way more than that because this is the largest area of LinkedIn, 2,600 characters. This gives you a massive amount of space in order to talk about what your skills are, how you've proven that you've got those skills, and anything else you want to tell people. So being able to put in information here that is going to talk about who you are, what you do, you can put in a series of skills that you just separate out with a pipe to help on that search engine optimization. Always put in a way to contact you on a personal email because recruiters much prefer talking to you on your personal email rather than trying to message you through LinkedIn. Make sure that your paragraphs are no more than 4 lines deep so they're readable. If you have a 5-line deep paragraph, it is a wall of words. People don't read it. The eye automatically goes to short paragraphs and to a bulleted list. So make full use of those and don't try and pack it too tightly. Titles in your experience section, my official title is career consultant, but in the industry, it's known as also as a career coach. I put both of them into my title area because that's going to help the search algorithm find me and give me the bonus points for an exact match on that job. And if you had a title that other people didn't quite understand outside the company, then you need to put down alternate titles in this section so that people know what you did and recruiters can find you. The other thing to do in your experience section is when you have a title, but you did something different within that title that you want to highlight, you put them in parentheses. So in this title, Senior Manager of Training and Development, most of my work was dealing with instructional design and e-learning development. So I put those in parentheses so that a recruiter or a hiring manager who looks at that title is now able to see that that's where the focus of my time and effort was. If you have a job that has a broad title, like a project manager, a marketing manager, you might want to put down in parentheses what types of things you did within that you want to highlight for people to understand and see, because a lot of LinkedIn is about translating what you did into the verbiage of the recruiter or hiring manager that's looking at you. Taking a look down on skills and endorsements. The skill quiz is going to be there because I have some skills that have tests associated with them. Adding a new skill, make sure that you take a look at the skills that LinkedIn is going to offer to you. This is not necessarily a set of skills that are linked to the type of job that you're looking for. It's just that other people who have similar profiles are using these types of skills also. Do you want to add those in? Some probably yes, some probably no. When you're editing, you've got a green tack mark next to the top 3 skills. If you don't want those to be the top skills that people see, then you're going to click on the green tack mark. It'll turn it white and drop it down to the rest of your skills. Go down, find the one that you like, click on that, and it'll bring it up to the top. You only get 3. But make sure that the 3 that you have here are the 3 skills that are associated with the next job you're looking for. And the higher you go up in management, the more you're going to have soft skills here instead of the technical skills. If you're in a supervisory, a manager, or a director role, you need to have at least 1 soft skill in these top skills because you need to show that you can manage people. The others can be technical. If you are more in a strategic role, then probably 2 or 3 of these need to be indicating that you understand strategic direction, that you're a goal setter, that you're a relationship builder, whatever you think is going to be important for those roles. When you're on this page and edit, take a look at this adjust endorsement settings, click on that and make sure that all 3 of these are green yeses. Because endorsements are still going to be important. They're not nearly as important as a skill test. But if you have these green, that means that LinkedIn is going to add to the top of your profile, would you like to endorse for these skills? And it gives people an opportunity to give you endorsements. So let's talk about other things that we can add to that, because most people will put in the information that is on their resume, copy and paste it into their LinkedIn profile. But LinkedIn allows you to add more sections here. And if you open this up, it'll give you some information. Is there more background information about you? You probably do have something in here about education. You may have licenses and certifications that you've put in your about section or in your experience section. You also need to duplicate them into your licenses and certification section here, because recruiters are looking for them here and they might not be reading all the text that you have elsewhere. LinkedIn allows you and encourages you to duplicate or even triplicate the skills that you have in order to showcase them in different areas because they're strong skills. Volunteer experience is also big these days because companies are looking for people who are going to be associated with the type of culture and community involvement that they're looking for. The other thing to be looking at is in the accomplishments area. And in the accomplishments area, if you've got publications, if you've got patents, let's add those in. Courses. If you took classes during the time that you were at work because your work was offering you these classes to improve your skills, put those in here. Because that shows that you were able to take time out of your day in order to learn something new, to improve yourself. And companies are looking for people who do that. The other courses that you should put in are the ones that you took on a yearly basis that came from the compliance department. Let me show you the ones that I've got. The courses I take every year are dealing with corruption and bribery, compliance, IT security, conflict of interest. You probably had to take some of these classes too. Put them into your LinkedIn profile under the courses section, because that shows that you understand why you were taking them and that you expect to take them in the future because they have a need in an organization. So put these out there and any other classes that you may have taken while you were at the company. And those can be community college, they can be technical classes outside of work, but anything that shows continuing education and a desire to learn more, put them into this courses area. Honors and awards. You may have those as bullet points within your experience section. Pull those out and put them in this section also, because recruiters are going to be looking at those and they're not necessarily going to be trying to find them within your about or your experience section. Put them in the honors, put them in the awards. Projects is a huge area. This is the second largest area of LinkedIn. Only the about section is bigger, but you can create a name for a project that you did at the company, give it the time frame. Don't put a URL on that because those change quite frequently, and sometimes they contain information that they don't want outside of the company. But this description area, this is 2,000 characters deep. The about section was bigger, it was 2,600, but this is a lot of room to talk about your story, what the situation was, what the background was, what the obstacles were, what the activities were, what the results were. Put it all in here, because this gives you an amazingly strong ability to tell your story, to prove your skills, and you're going to add a lot of key words in here that are going to be important for the search algorithm. Let's talk about networking, because networking is going to be a key part of ensuring that you get up and have the number of connections and that you find the people in companies so that you satisfy that search criteria on the LinkedIn Recruiter software. So in the search, in the chat feature, could somebody give me the name of a company that they're considering working for? Give me a company that's on your marketing plan. NGA. Is this the farming company?
Scott, is NGA the affirming company? Don't know.
Okay, let's go with Lockheed Martin. As you're typing a company into the search bar, it'll give you an opportunity to look at the company page itself. If you're looking for people who work there, jobs there, you can go to the company page. Because on the company page, you're going to have the follow capability. And that's going to drop it into your LinkedIn interest area. It gives you some options through here to learn more, and you're going to click on jobs, and you're going to create a job alert. And in your job alert, you're going to be able to give a title, and you're going to tell them where you're going to want to work. Remote does not work here. You're going to have to put in a location that is either where the HR team is or the home office is, if you want to be remote. Then you create a job alert. And what that does is that anytime a recruiter posts a job on LinkedIn, LinkedIn will push back to that recruiter a list of everybody who has indicated they're interested in that job at that company and their profile has those skills. That's a real help for the recruiters because now they're going to be able to take a look at the profiles of the people who have set up the job alerts and are interested in working at their company. This is a different job alert from the job alert that you would create on the Jobs tab. This is more specific to a certain role at a company, and recruiters are able to see this alert, whereas they're not able to see the alert up here. That's more for you. You can have up to 8 different job alerts per company. So if you've got different titles, you can create a job alert for each one of those. But in this people category, if you click on people, it will tell you that there are 107,546 employees who work at this company. It'll tell you where they live and where they studied. Let's go ahead and open this up more. Let's take a look at the ones in the Dallas-Fort Worth area because that's where the home office is. You've got some next and previous buttons here. If you click on next, it gives you 2 new charts, what they do, what department they work in, what they studied. What they do is going to be a nice way to sort down and find a little bit closer to the type of person you want to be able to connect to, because you've probably got a department in mind already that you want to be working in. But if you click next again, it tells you what skills they have in their skills and endorsement area, but it also tells you how you're connected. And we tend to lose track of people after we've connected with them. And sometimes when you're taking a look at a company, you find that you've got someone in your network as a first-degree connection in here, and it's easy to find. Then you can start the dialogue. I have applied to Lockheed Martin for this role. How do you like working there? I've applied for this job. Do you know who the hiring manager is? I've got an interview scheduled. Any tips on what they're looking for? Get that conversation going with your first degree connections. Now, your second degree connections, you can also contact because you have someone in common in your network with their network. And being able to connect with somebody by saying, I see we have connections in common in our LinkedIn networks. Let's connect. I'm considering Lockheed Martin as a possible career. How do you like it there? So you're able to talk with people more closely. Well, let's go back and take a look at these 15,600 employees. You probably want to connect with a recruiter. So let's type in recruiter, and there are 143 employees in the Dallas-Fort Worth area who either have a current title of recruiter or who were recruiters at some time in the past. So if you wanted to take a look through here, here are the 146 tiles of the people who either have recruiter currently or who had it in the past. Recruiter might be too broad. How about if we see technical recruiter? All right, we got it down to 81. Here are the 81. Notice that when you go through here, you're probably more likely to try and connect with people who have a picture and who have a background. That's a good reason why you should have a good picture and background on your profile, because they're more noticeable, they're friendlier, there's more of a feeling that these people are going to connect with you when asked. Now, you see that there's a connect button on some of these folks. Do not use the white connect button because that sends an automatic, I'd like to join your LinkedIn network. You don't want that. You want to give them a reason. So instead of using the white connect button here, you're going to click on their name or their picture and go to their profile page and use the blue connect button. A blue connect button will always allow you to personalize the message that you're sending, and people are more likely to connect with you if you give them a reason to. Now, if there's not a blue connect button here, it will be under the more feature, because when you click more, one of the features is going to be connect, and the connect in this more area will always allow you to personalize also.
Ruth, there is a question from Michelle. How do we know who is still there? So when you're doing these searches, are we just seeing current employees?
We are only seeing current employees. Recruiter, this is taken from the database of the company, and they're very good about cleaning this up. So in all, you've got probably a 95% probability of these people still being there.
Great, thank you.
Now you can see that some of these people who are technical recruiters have shared connections already. Those are probably going to be good people to connect with, because now you're going to be able to say, I see you also have people in your network that I have in my network. I'm interested in Lockheed Martin as a career. Let's connect. You can also put in information like, I am an aeronautical engineer with skills in XYZ. Let's connect. And that'll give them a little bit more information. Recruiters are supposed to be collecting people. That's their job. They're trying to find the right people. And if you connect with them on LinkedIn, it's normally a good way for them to be able to assess you very quickly as to whether you're going to fit a role within the company. Now let's take another look at, let's get rid of these technical recruiters. And we're going to stay in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, but we're going to try and find the hiring manager. And let's say that the hiring manager could be the director of sales. Wow, 295. Didn't expect to have that many of them. You may need to sort those down a little bit more. Director of sales would be a current director of sales, or they have that in their profile in a previous job. But if you can find the person that you think might be a hiring manager, you can always connect with that person by saying, I've applied for this role. I have these skills. It looks like you may be the hiring manager. Let's connect. And if they're not, if they are a nice person, they're going to connect with you and then say, I'm not the hiring manager on this. You might want to talk with somebody different and give you a name. That doesn't always happen, but it's worth a try. So find the people who are going to have recruiting responsibilities, have similar titles to you, could be hiring managers. This allows you to search people for skills, department, titles, and gives you the opportunity to connect with the right people in an organization. And that piece, this is a powerful piece. I just love this connection. All right, let's take a quick look at, somebody give me a school that they attended, university, college.
University of Pittsburgh.
Okay. University of Pittsburgh, here we go. You're going to be able to do the same thing with schools. If you went to that school, then you don't need to click the follow button. LinkedIn is already going to put that into your interest area, but you can add more schools. If your spouse, if your parents, if your siblings, if your kids go to a school, you can add those schools to your LinkedIn profile. If you just like their football team, add them to your LinkedIn profile. So click on follow. But it does give you the ability to look at the alumni. And in this case, we've got 175 odd people who have gone to this university. Where they live is still going to be a first column. Where they work is going to be the one that you want to look at more carefully. So let's find out if anybody all right, if you went to the University of Pittsburgh and you want to work for Lockheed Martin, you got 184 people here who are now working at Lockheed Martin. Now you've got a great way to connect with them by saying, I see you also went to University of Pittsburgh, go Pitt. I enjoyed my time there. I'm considering Lockheed Martin as a possible career. How do you like it there? Let's connect. Being able to connect with schools is hugely important because you get something in common with them. So use this as a feature and remember that you've got these next buttons where you can see what department they're in. So you might want to narrow down who you're talking to at LinkedIn, what they studied, and if you're connected to anybody there. So keep the activity going, keep the connections going, build your connections up, and find the people who are going to be most valuable to you. Okay, Jeff, back to you.
Great. Well, Ruth, thank you very, very much. Here is, if you're interested in connecting with Ruth, here is what her profile looks like. If you do want to connect with Ruth, please click on that blue connect button so that and send her a personal note and tell her you saw her here today at LinkedIn Tuesdays. Next week, our speaker is going to be Locke Alderson. He's going to talk about how to use LinkedIn for job hunting, strategies to get results. We got some of those tips today from Ruth, but we'll go into more of those next Tuesday. All right, I need everybody who's on the call to please raise your right hand. Very, very important. And repeat after me. I, Jeff Morris, promise to always send a personal note whenever I send a LinkedIn request to connect with anyone. This includes when I use my cell phone or my computer. Very, very, very important. Every day I get connection requests and nobody sends me a personal note. And so for those people, they're just sitting in my unnoticed pile, because if you don't send me a personal note, I'm not going to connect with you. But if you do send me a personal note, you can say you hate blue shirts. That's fine. Just send me something that says that you know something about me or how we met, and I will be glad to connect with you. And I'm sure Ruth is the same way. I think most people are the same way. You know, they want to see a personal note. Most people I know are not LinkedIn open networkers, you know, who will connect with anybody. They want to know where we met. So please, please do that. All right, Career DFW and Career USA, we're putting on training 5 days a week. So hopefully today is Tuesday for LinkedIn Tuesdays. Tomorrow at Interviewing Wednesdays, session number 8, asking questions during the interview. Very, very important. You don't want your interview to be an inquisition. You'd like it to be a conversation. How do you do that? Join us tomorrow at 1 o'clock Central Time. Thursday, for Effective Resume Thursdays, we have a special guest speaker, Andy Cook, will be with us. She's going to talk about strategies to tailor your resume quickly. You got to come up with something quick to get out. How do you do that? So join us this Thursday at 1 o'clock. This Friday at the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group meeting at 9:30 in the morning. What's going on in Richardson, Texas? So John Jacobs is the Vice President of the Economic Development Board for the city of Richardson. He knows everything going on here in Richardson. If you have a company that you're interested in that is based here, based in the Richardson, Texas area, you probably want to be on the call because he will know about it. He can offer some suggestions. He can tell you contacts. He's been doing this for over 20 years. He is well connected with what he does. So it's always a very interesting presentation. He'll also talk a little bit about how Richardson was, you know, the phone headquarters for the country back in the early 2000s, and you know how all that went from boom to bust. So very interesting presentation this Friday at 9:30. Next Monday for Networking Mondays, we're going to have effective networking. Our guest speaker will be Jay Frasero. This is a pre-recorded session that he did a few months ago for the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. But this is, I think, what Jay talks about. He's got a book out, and there isn't one thing in his book that I disagree with. I think it is the most comprehensive book on your job search and what you need to be doing, and what he's going to talk about for how to be an effective networker and what you need to do. He's got a accounting background, so it's very step. For those of you who are more loosey-goosey, you may not want to do it, but it's definitely something very, very interesting, and is a great presenter. If you'd like to join the Career DFW or Career USA LinkedIn groups, you're welcome to join one or both. You do not need to live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area to join the Career DFW group. We have over 13,000 members. We started the group back in 2008. A little interesting side story. One year when we hit like 6,000 or 7,000, somebody sent me a note going, "It's really sad that so many people are just joining this group. Is nobody finding a job?" And I replied back to him going, "I think you've missed the point. You join a group like this so you can continue to network from here to eternity. You don't just do this, and then when you get a job, unsubscribe to these groups." So just a little side note, these little funny things that happen over the years. All right, this session has been recorded. It will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and the Career USA YouTube channel. Please follow us on Facebook. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. By doing that, as more and more people subscribe and follow, both those services platforms open up additional things that we're allowed to do as we get more and more people watching. So we really, really appreciate those who do that. On the Career USA YouTube channel, click on playlist, which is where that green arrow is. And then don't click on the video down below, but find the subject you want. And down where you see the red arrow, click on the view full playlist. And then up will come a list of from the most current to the oldest of all the different sessions. And you can go back and watch any of these sessions anytime you want. They're all there for you to go back and view. If you're not receiving emails about our workshops, you can join the Career USA mailing list. I'll put this email address up here at the very, very end. So please note, Career DFW, we're a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Today is our 301st workshop that we've put on. So we're very glad you're with us. Ruth is a volunteer. I'm a volunteer. We have no full or part-time employees. We survive on donations. It pays for Zoom. It pays for business cards when we can hand those out. It pays for the web names, web hostings, any of the expenses we have to do. So please consider when you get your next opportunity, your next great job, please consider making a donation so we can continue to provide the services that we provide. So thank you for joining us today. Ruth, thank you very, very much. And for everybody, hopefully we'll see you later in the week. Happy Hump Day.